Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. Joined on this fine, Monday night by Raj Chapalu, also of Clutch Points. Raj, I'm going to be honest. As soon as I got that press release from the Lakers saying that they were dedicating this win or this game to the LA community and to first responders and all that stuff, I was like, oh no. No, please don't do that. Take it back. Like, delete the tweets. Just don't go there because San Antonio was frisky with the Lakers earlier this year, for one thing.
Sure.
Wemby is so good defensively that he kind of like caves in any attempts that the Lakers make. Like, as you watch those guys play against the Spurs, you know, kind of steadily over the course of the game, the paint, they become less and less interested in the paint. And, you know, the offense just kind of goes away late. But the biggest thing is, like, I'm going to be honest, this team doesn't get it. And what I mean by that is, like, this team, this is a moment, like JJ Redick has been talking recently about how, like, he wanted to play and present that distraction and lift up the city and all of that stuff. We saw the LA Rams guys talk about that after the game. You say that stuff after the game, after you've won, after you've gone out and actually uplifted the city. But all of the stuff that the Lakers have been talking about, especially this press release that they sent before the game, it's all empty words. Because, like, you watch them in this one and they went right back to the switching nonsense that continues to hurt them defensively. Rui Hachimura, they continue to rely on him and hope that maybe one day he'll stumble drunkenly into a rebound. Cam Reddish just kept on getting to play. I think he played about as many minutes as Dorian Finney-Smith, who they traded their one tradable contract for and might be their only acquisition of this trade transaction window. You had the news before this that Jared Vanderbilt is not going to be available for this week. But apparently he's still making progress, even though the last progress they said was super duper real. Now, I don't know what kind of progress he's making, if it's like real or less than real or whatever. This team just, like, it just doesn't get it. It lacks culture altogether. It lacks leadership altogether. Not once have I seen LeBron James get held to account tonight. He didn't look like he gave a single fuck about this game. Not one. Not one. Anthony Davis, like, his numbers looked good on all that stuff, but it was a lot of floaters again. It was a lot of the stuff that, like, he does when his numbers look the emptiest. Austin Reaves, hey, bud. Teams, the secret's out. Teams are hunting him relentlessly. That is a part of everybody's game plan at this point. And again, like we talked about JJ Redick in the starting lineup, you know, which I thought should have changed going into this game. It didn't. They went with that same starting lineup that I think now sits at 500 and was getting out. Yeah, they got outplayed for basically the entirety of the time that we're on the court together. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, I walk away from this game and maybe I'm a little extra crabby because the Vikings also laid an egg tonight. But I don't know. Like, I was legitimately thinking about just starting the show with, like, all right, welcome everybody to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. Fuck this team. Like, I can't stand this team. I can't. How do you talk up this moment and how you're going to uplift the city and you're going to be the center of these, you know, the revival of the city. So he's going to work on rebuilding, and you can rebuild and center those efforts on the foundation that we laid tonight. Hold on, take that back. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, one team, we saw a Rams team that went through a hellish start to the season. They were 1-4 and were being counted out basically up and down, conversations about the NFL. You saw them show up. They had to play away from home. They didn't get to play a home game tonight. But it was very clear that, like, they were going to, open their arms up and say, you know what, everybody, rally around us. We are going to represent the city in this tough time, and how strong we can be as a community, how relentless we can be as a community. The resolve that LA is kind of wants to be known for here. We are going to put it on display. And the Lakers are like, okay, you guys got that. All right, cool. We'll go ahead and take tonight off. Tonight was just brutal. It was an embarrassing thing to watch.
First of all, it's nice to be back on the lounge. There was a few games off because of the fires, and it's nice to, at least for me, watch basketball again at some level with the Lakers. Been a rough week, obviously, with the fires and stuff like that, and even tough to even enjoy basketball at all. And then you focus in, Anthony, on this game. I thought at least the first 2.5 quarters, it was an enjoyable Laker performance. I thought we got, you mentioned the kind of empty stats of it. Wembanyama, and I thought he came and delivered on what he is, which is just an absolute superstar. I think Dave McMenamin tweeted out that before the game, he was getting Steph Curry level pregame kind of views in terms of what people come to watch. I like to break down and analyze, but I think, to your point, in the fourth quarter, you get blown out 39 to 12, I believe they got in the fourth quarter, 37-13 fourth quarter scoring, which is a bigger issue. And of course, all the comments of wanting to play for LA, which I think there is some validity to what they were saying. But I think this team has a really bad habit, Anthony, now of when they get punched in the mouth, they lay down, and this it's a little more of a consistent theme than you'd like to see. And I have more grace, honestly, for the Houston, outlier shooting game, and then the Dallas game where Dallas is down Luka and Kyrie, and there's just a level of urgency that they were playing with coming off a 5-game losing streak. I have some urgency, I have some grace for that. Tonight, though, this is an absolute awful loss. Like, there's just nothing like you can say. Anthony Davis goes 13 for 18, Anthony, from the floor. I think he was 10 for 11 at one point. He finishes a minus 21. Yeah, like a minus 21. And your point with LeBron looked like he didn't care. I thought there was a moment maybe in the second where he and Wemby were going back and forth, where he kind of really was into the game. But you're right, there was a lot of laziness. And I don't know if you want to get to this now, but I see it later down the line. But just generally, the defensive scheme doesn't really match the personnel. You just mentioned Austin's getting hunted, which is absolutely correct. Rui Hachimura also gets hunted. I think there's some context around that, where when you put Anthony Davis on a player that he has to guard at 30 feet, hell yeah, the other team's going to be like, all right, where's Harrison Barnes? They did not even look at Wemby's way in the I'm going to go rewatch the fourth quarter, but I tell people, go rewatch that fourth quarter. They put Wemby on one side of the floor and said, Harrison Barnes, go in the post. There's no one at the basket. LeBron's not helping, as a low man. Rui Hachimura is the other low man. There's some defensive kind of there's a disconnect there, in my opinion, on the personnel versus what our defensive scheme is. And yeah, 3 losses in a row, all to Western teams, all teams that you need to beat. But that fourth quarter was disgusting. It is nice to have basketball back in a sense, but that fourth quarter was not fun to watch.
The point that I think needs to be hammered home here is how you mentioned their response to getting punched in the face. And there's no worse team to root for than a front runner team, like the team that sticks out its chest and does all the antics when they're oh, by the way, I also forgot. They were dedicating this game to the city and all that stuff, and the first responders. Also, Michael Cooper gets his jersey retired, and they get absolutely embarrassed in the second half. Again, it's just like, it's a team that just doesn't seem to understand what like Lakers fans actually care about. It's a team that I just think, like, I want to see like, JJ Redick needs to like step up tonight and be like, hey man, we need more from LeBron. Like, he wasn't very good tonight. He had not once so far this year has he criticized LeBron. The closest that he's gotten was when he said that he wasn't sure the 82 game approach made the most sense for LeBron or the team. That's the closest as he's gotten to criticizing LeBron. I think in the fourth quarter, LeBron had still only taken 9 shot attempts. He finished with 11 shot attempts tonight. Like, it's just, and I know that it's stupid that we have to keep on pointing this out, but the Lakers, like from an energy level, always go as LeBron goes. So either JJ needs to like say to LeBron, "Hey man, you're still the person who sets the bar for us, energy wise," or he needs to hop on the mic after the game and be like, "Hey guys, we can't keep relying on the 40-year-old to set the energy bar." Like, one of those two things has to happen, because we're going to keep on getting these ugly ass losses, and the Lakers are going to keep on playing down to their opponent, because those are the kinds of teams that LeBron takes nights off against. I'm never too worried about like the games against the Warriors or games against like the better teams in the NBA, right? Because those are the ones, those on those national platforms. Those are the ones that LeBron is going to take seriously. But in a game like tonight, some random Monday night, while there's a NFL playoff game going on too, where the Spurs come into the building and you've already beaten the Spurs twice. Like that's the kind of game that like LeBron's just going to kind of load manage while he's out there on the court. And the Lakers just seem to have no plan for those games. They're just like, now what? I don't know. Austin, do you got it? Like AD, do you got it? And he seemed to offensively, but like Anthony Davis being your highest impact offensive player kind of takes away from what the Lakers actually need from him. I don't know. We'll talk about like the actual basketball and some of the actual basketball concerns here, but like I watched this and not a single soul on this roster should be, other than maybe Anthony Davis and LeBron James, should be deemed untouchable. Like, I'm so sick of hearing about how, like, yeah, Max Christie played well for a week, can't trade him. Rui Hachimura wears number 2 and number 8 for Gianna and Kobe, can't trade him. Like, I can't keep going through this where, like, there are these players who have playoff track records who would step in and immediately make the Lakers better. And the Lakers are reluctant to trade anybody on their roster who plays well for like a week, because that's seen as a win for a front office that doesn't have enough wins. This team isn't very good and it needs to get better. And either they need to decide like, all right, we are either going to try to be good this year, or we're just going to cynically ride out the LeBron AD era and sell as many tickets and sell as many jerseys as we possibly can. But whatever decision that they make, actually make it. No more of these half measures. If that's how you were going to do this, don't even make the DFS trade. Keep those second rounders for when you're actually going to be interested in using them. Like, I'm so done with this team, man. This is the most frustrating loss I think I have seen as a Lakers fan in a minute, because that's including this year, maybe dating back, maybe for the entirety of the LeBron James era. You have an entire city, an entire Southern California region that is going through it. Every single person watching this show knows somebody who lost everything this week as far as their possessions. Every single person who was in the stands there tonight either lost everything or knows somebody who did. And the Lakers wrapped their arms around this moment and said, we're going to be here for you. We're going to represent the city. We're going to be here to say, to show everybody what the best parts of the city are. And then they don't even fucking show up for the game. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. You can't do that on a night like tonight. You simply cannot. You can't say that you want to represent the city and then just don't do that.
Yeah, no, I thought this was a rough one. You obviously, went long on in terms of destroying the whole team. And I think, one part I'll just focus on. Well, I guess before that, you mentioned the worst team to root for is a front runner. I tweeted, I think the Pistons had a win yesterday. And I said, the most fun team to root for is the one that kind of exceeds expectations, that kind of, blows past expectations. The worst team to root for, in my opinion, is the one that falls way below expectations, right? And I think, you
Yeah.
watch this team and your expectation of a game like tonight, basketball is also therapy, right? It's very therapeutic, I'm sure, to a lot of people going through this. This was a rough one. This did not probably help a lot of the people that were watching this one. But no, I think the culture issue is the one I'll focus on, Anthony. That's the one I see. And I think there's just a culture missing of competitiveness. And I think a lot of the comments are, should DFS have played more? And sure, maybe that maybe impacts a few minutes here or there, but there's a level of quit just tonight. And the Q word that I don't throw around lightly either. There's just a level of quit that you saw, especially in that second half, and it's been a common theme that I'm really concerned about. And putting all the LA stuff to the side, just from that standpoint, it's disappointing to see. And trades, not trades. That's why I just never thought the DFS trade was a full gonna change the whole makeup of the team without internal development. And I think that's still important. I still think Rui and Max, they need to show something of what they are. I think Max is trending toward that right direction. But I understand your point as well. Kind of go in. If you're gonna go in, go all the way in, right? If you're gonna switch, go trade for all switchable defenders. Then you can't have 3 people that are 6'1" on the floor if you want to switch everything. But yeah, this was rough to watch, and this is not how you want to return to basketball. I guess it's not the way you want to kind of return to the city of basketball. And that's what they did tonight. So I don't know where we can go from there. I hope they play better, I guess. They play San Antonio. No, they don't play San Antonio again. I'm not sure.
Miami on Wednesday.
Miami. Yes, where Pat Riley might still be there for that.
I'm trying to grab a clip really quick of, again, a team that actually understands what it is to, take on the challenge of representing everything that a city wants to stand for. Here is Sean McVay after his Rams beat my Vikings tonight. Speaking of a quitter and a loser from the Southern California region, Sam Darnold, man, hats off to you for losing so much money over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I just look at the fire that's in this guy's eyes, and his willingness to say, no, we are actually going to accept that challenge. Like, this is a game. The Spurs aren't very good this year. They have won. They're 19-19 this year. So the Lakers are they are a better basketball team than the Spurs. The Lakers at one point were up by 10 points in the third quarter. This was a game that you should have been able to put your foot on their throat and actually put on a show for a fan base that really needed it. I'm just going to play a little portion of this though from Sean McVay after the Rams beat the Vikings.
Hey, I'm going to tell you this. How about the defense end up tying a playoff record with 9 sacks? And also, how about a verse on the touchdown? Hey, I'll tell you what, there's so many guys that we could recognize, but I think this truly epitomizes a team win. Yep. You talk about a connected group. You talk about a team that said all week, we're built for this. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what you guys came out and did, man. Unbelievable. And all you guys did, you represented exactly what we wanted to be about, man. A city that's going through a lot of different stuff that can look to you guys and say, I'm proud of that group. City on our back. Just being your guys' self right there, man. Give it up for yourselves right there.
A city that's going through a lot of fucking stuff right now. A city that, and you hear from, I don't know who said it in the background, city on our backs, look, AD not drafted by the Lakers, LeBron not drafted by the Lakers. They're just the core of this team. JJ Redick never played for the Lakers. Redick did play for an LA team, but he played for the losers, right? He played for the Clippers. So there's just if you're gonna be about it, if you're gonna go out there and they showed up, they wore the shirts that had the LAFD symbol on their shirts for warmups today. If you're gonna wrap your arms around this moment, you cannot get your ass kicked in the way that the Lakers got their asses kicked. The whole purpose of saying those things and saying that you're about those things is to represent the resiliency that you're seeing from a whole bunch of people. Man, Raj, like one of my favorite things that I've been noticing here is every time I see a GoFundMe tweeted out, I'll click on them, and I've donated to like a good 5 or 6 at this point. And every time I go on there, like eventually I'll go back to that GoFundMe, because you're able to kind of track the progress there.
Yeah.
Almost all of those GoFundMes are getting paid out. They're almost all hitting their goals,
Right.
Or getting damn close to hitting those goals. And it's a city that is coming together during some of its darkest hours, and is getting ready to rebuild and maybe even learn from this experience. And it's like, and the Lakers are like, yeah, ready, get behind us, get on our back, here's how it's going to go. And then the Spurs threw like one weak jab to their face, and it was like, actually, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Like it's just so embarrassing. Like this game is so indicative of everything that I think ails the Lakers. It's all fucking cheap PR. It's all cheap propaganda. It's all a bunch of people who want to say that they're about the excellency that is expected from the Lakers organization, but it's nobody who actually want to do the work. Right? It's like it's Jeannie Buss who says, I want to represent every single thing that my dad represented when he owned this team. But actually, I'm only going to hire a bunch of my friends, and I'm not going to hold them to account when they need to be. It's like it's an organization that says, like, yeah, we're going to go out and get the best people. However, we're not going to pay assistant coaches as much as we need to actually hire the best assistant coaches. We aren't going to employ a shooting coach. We aren't going to employ a pro scout. We aren't going to, like, our analytics department is going to be like, they're going to operate in some tiny little broom cupboard somewhere. Like, this is just, it's, if you're gonna profit off of Lakers exceptionalism and Lakers excellency and all of those things, like, you actually have to represent those things. You actually have to put in the work to be those things. You can't, like, Rob Pelinka can't get hired because of Mamba mentality and being the person who stood closest to Kobe and be so reluctant to pull the trigger now for 2 years running. Like, it's just everything about this team is gold plated. And when I was growing up, it was solid fucking gold. And you're seeing this erosion, of that culture for decades now. And we arrive at a night like tonight where the city just desperately needed. Could you imagine how cool it would have been? Like, the Dodgers are about to sign another great free agent, this Roki Sasaki guy, this Japanese pitcher. They just won a World Series. The Rams, they go out and they win a playoff game that they couldn't even play at home against a team that won 14 games in the regular season. Yeah, the Vikings were clearly fraudulent, as evidenced by last week and then again tonight. But still, you win a playoff game that you weren't even allowed to play at home. So you have those two things going on. And the Lakers could have just been the cherry on top here. That and the Lakers matter more than all of these other teams in the city of LA. And they could have been that final, like, that final headline that the city of LA really, really needed. And they scored, what'd you say it was? Yeah, they scored 13 points 13. in the fourth quarter. 13. As a team, they scored 13 more points, Raj, than you and me.
Right.
It's just like it's such a shitty team that I'm just sick of rooting for. I'm ready to move on past this entire era. Because I don't respect any of the people who were making any of these decisions on the coaching staff, in the front office, in ownership. None of them, all of them need to wake up, look themselves in the mirror, and realize you're part of the problem or the actual problem.
Sure. Yeah. And first of all, shout out, all the GoFundMes that are getting funded. I think that is awesome. I think that's great. Shared a bunch of them as well on my page as well. And, hopefully LA can kind of get through that. Yeah, it's rough. I don't know. I think it's tough just fully focusing on, the Lakers to be, I guess, that full light of, at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people. And this was just a disgusting loss. And I think you echoed a lot of the sentiments of how a lot of people feel in terms of the ownership. And it was funny. Shout out Michael Cooper, who did get his jersey retired, and a guy that I was too young to watch, but Anthony, he's my favorite type of role player. It's why, like, Trevor Ariza was just, when I was growing up, Trevor Ariza was my role player that, when I first got into basketball, I got to watch. And those are the type of dudes that kind of really emulate the stuff you want out of your basketball players, just dudes who play freaking hard every single time. I think that's why people hang on to guys like Jared Vanderbilt or Dorian Finney-Smith, who just kind of, I think as a fan, I know you mentioned you wanted to win tonight, but I think as a fan, all you really can ask for is for your effort to be there on a consistent basis. I think you can't, you can't really ask for wins every night. You can't really ask for players to shoot well every night, but I think your expectation should at least be your team plays hard on a night to night basis. And I think the sad part is for a lot of this era, that has not been true. And I think that's part of the calculus also when your best player is 40 years old. It's just how the NBA world works. When your star is over a certain, age, and it's nasty to watch. I don't know if I'm at the just blow it all up portion of this. It's just, I think there are basketball stuff that we can get to that kind of are pushing some of this along as well, are kind of, reacting to why the defense is what it is, and why the transition defense is so awful, and why teams are starting to pick up on the tendencies of how to beat the Lakers and how to blow them out even in positions when they're successful. But yeah, this was a nasty loss. I'm glad we're back to basketball at least. It was a tough week. It was tough to even focus on basketball for a few days, but glad to at least be back into the hoops, and hopefully they pick up and play a little better as the games go on this week.
I'm going to segue awkwardly to a little bit of news that we got from JJ Redick before the game. He said that Jared Vanderbilt will not play this week. This is after last week that we were informed that he was going to be evaluated in about a week or so. So I don't know if it's, people kind of jumped the gun on asking about Vando a couple of days before that reevaluation date or whatever. I'm catching some shit on Twitter because people aggregated half of the report. I said, whenever it was that I said it, a couple days ago, that the Lakers hoped to get Vando back as soon as Wednesday, depending on how he responded to full contact practices and going up and down and all of that stuff. But that I was also told they might play this very cautious because the last time that Vando came back, he played for a couple weeks or so, and then had to sit out again. So, he's played very, very little basketball in 2 years. Also parts of the points that I made that night. But yeah, if you're going to blame me for aggregation of my reporting that ignores half of the report, then maybe, just maybe, listen to the show or listen to or read the writing or whatever it is. But yeah, the Vando news is a bit of a bummer. I don't know what that now means, frankly, because we were being told that the progress was real, and now we are. I don't know if we hit another setback here. JJ says that he has to check certain boxes that I don't know if they thought they were going to check to this point, but have gone unchecked. So we'll see how that goes with Vando. I want to, if Vando, whenever or if he does ever come back, the Lakers seem committed to switchy defense and smaller lineups and athletic lineups or at least lineups built with athleticism in mind. I don't love how they look. I think all of the switching, once teams kind of figure out that because of the way the Lakers defend and because of how open to switching that they are, teams just kind of know, oh, well, then we can get whatever matchup we want. All we have to do is have the right guy set a screen and bang, we have Austin Reaves on anybody that we want.
Yeah.
I just, they don't have the horses to play defense that way, or they don't have the horses for they don't have enough guys for a rotation of players who would play that way without making not just a trade, but probably even a series of trades they would need to make to get enough guys in there who can play that way. What do you think about that potential identity and the
Yeah.
notion of like building towards that identity, 40 years. So, let's see how many games, 37 games into a season.
Yeah, it's funny when you're talking about Vando and you said we're being told the progress is real. What are we being told then in other times? If the progress wasn't real and in other situations. We were joking about this on X. I would love to see Vando play in a South Bay game, and I'd love to just see Vando score 20 points. I'm not saying he wouldn't be able to score 20 points, just get Vando and in some type of offensive groove. Obviously that won't happen. Vando's not going to play in the South Bay. No, I think we like. Again, I think when people think of switching, it's like there's a difference between just switching in a laziness, way, which I think we do a ton because I think it does just show very much, it gives off lazy tendencies. But there's also a way to make teams earn a switch, right? And that's the term I always use, Anthony.
Yeah.
Make a team earn it, right? Like if a team sets a hard screen and gets the switch, all right, fine. Like then you can switch that possession. But there's a difference between when someone comes up to like close to half court and sets a brush screen, which you could easily fight over, and you just choose not to. Because obviously when you choose not to, you exert less energy, right? You're just staying where you're at. You get to kind of hold on to the player that's setting the screen. There's a level of just, like there's just less energy exerted when you do that. The issue I think the Lakers are getting themselves into, Anthony, which is, again, I understand the asking for Dorian Finney-Smith to play, but even if he plays or not, the issue that they have is Anthony Davis and LeBron. You brought up LeBron earlier in in your rant. LeBron and AD are switching way too easily, and that is blowing up everything else. So when you get AD put on the perimeter, then every other matchup, like the team, once they get by their defender, it's over. Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, excuse me. Once they got by their initial guy, and sometimes that was Dorian, sometimes that was Rui, sometimes that was Austin, whatever guard, sometimes that was Max Christie. Whenever they got by their initial dude, Anthony Davis is worried about Wembanyama, or he switched on to Chris Paul, or he's on some guard where he believes it's not his help responsibility to be there. And once that happens, then guards drive. I think the Spurs had like 60 points in the paint, whatever it was, because they just continued to attack. Houston did the same thing to us. Dallas in that second half did the same thing to us with PJ Washington attacking our defenders because AD was out on the perimeter, switched on to Maxi Kleber. And again, Maxi Kleber is a nice shooter, but like he shouldn't disrupt your whole defensive identity. PJ Washington as well, or Klay Thompson as well, whoever it is that AD's switched on, it breaks our scheme in a way that just is destroying us defensively. And like the switching stuff, I understand it. If you want to switch everything, then switch everything. But what's happening with the Lakers is they don't know if they're switching or not. So a lot of times tonight, Jackson Hayes is out there and he's like, am I switching? Am I in a drop? In my back? And by that time, the guard's in your chest scoring over you. Austin's not a switch defender. Rui's not a switch defender. Yes. Do they get hunted? Absolutely. My issue, Anthony, we've all played basketball. We've all seen where a defender's getting hunted. That's not a license to watch. Like there's got to be some adjustment that happens. Dallas media brought this up a ton, where I think Austin got hunted 13 straight times to close the fourth quarter in Dallas. It's like, all right, fine. But why are we watching Spencer Dinwiddie cook Austin Reaves? Like there's got to be some help situations. You got to understand where the help's coming from. I'm not trying to, give bail for Austin here. It's just I think our team and LeBron and AD stand outside and they're like, hey, our responsibility is not to help here. Fine, then let Rui be the guy that's protecting the rim out of that. It's just, I think there's some communication, and somehow we're a quiet team, which doesn't make a lot of sense. We're all veterans and we're a team that doesn't talk on defense. Those are, the kind of issues that I'm seeing. And yes, I would like us to be a switch. I think like our with this personnel, like the highest floor is probably a switching team. It's just when you have a bunch of 6'8" wings, like you don't want them in drop coverages, right? You want their best defensive skills to be able to be out on the perimeter, move their feet, get hands on balls, right? But go watch Boston, like not in a positive way, but they don't let Porzingis and Al Horford die out there. It's not what happens. Yeah. Guards don't get to pick on Al Horford and be like, I'm getting him every time. No, they switched through their 1 through 4, and then on the 5th guy, they have a scheme ready for when you attack it. Like there's just a lack of cohesion I'm seeing, and yeah, I think when Vando comes back, that helps. He'll play for Cam Reddish, who was abomination tonight. But again, these aren't like one player returning doesn't solve all our issues. But to answer your question, yeah, I think they should be switching. It's just the way they're doing it to me is incorrect.
Well, it's like, Vando's coming back. He's not going to help you score more in the fourth period. Like, they scored 13 points in the fourth period. They got outscored by 9 in the second period, or in the third period. It was just like it was an ugly second half. That, like, if they got a stop, they wouldn't score, and then if they scored, they didn't get a stop, and it was just it was not. Like, there's this term that football coaches like to use, where they'll say, like, it's a connected football game, right? Where the offense helps the defense, and the defense helps the offense, and the special team kind of fills in those cracks. And we saw an example of that tonight with how thoroughly the Rams kicked the Vikings' ass. It's when you see that come together, it can be a beautiful thing. When was the last time we saw a fully connected Lakers game from start to finish? Like, they looked okay there for a little while when Max got into the starting lineup. Then they made the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. They're 2-3 since they traded for Dorian. And I think part of it is that, like, it's pretty clear what needs to be done rotation wise. And for whatever reason, Redick is reluctant to do it, or the Lakers organization is reluctant to do it. So, yeah, I do think this will be I'm hoping this is like the last straw here, and that Redick does finally insert Dorian into the starting lineup, and he'll get more minutes from here on out. Rui played 30 minutes tonight, was a -16 in those minutes. Grabbed 3 rebounds, had 1 assist, and scored 9 points. Just a supreme non-factor out there. Dorian played 20 minutes, and yeah, now Dorian also grabbed 2 rebounds. It's just I don't know. I don't get the sense that Lakers players are very confident that the coaching staff understands what this team needs to do to win. I think it's like they're trying to land on an identity that they think makes the most sense, but it's a different identity than they had coming into the year, and I think it's a different identity than LeBron and AD want to play. By the way, you can't switch 1 through 5 with AD out there. Like, you aren't playing small ball with a 40-year-old LeBron James. He can't get out there and defend on the perimeter in the way that you need to. Like, who are the actual players who fit that identity defensively? It's like Max, maybe Gabe. I think he's too small. Vando, Cam, Dorian,
Max.
Yeah, I said him. So there's 4 guys.
Yeah,
like,
well, you would hope LeBron and AD fit that universe,
but
right?
They don't.
I think in a regular season, context, for sure. It's just, I think you're trying to build, towards your winning formula, and I think that's your winning formula. If that's the wings you're bringing in. JJ reluctantly, in my opinion, played Jackson Hayes tonight. I think he was okay. I thought he was all right. Had some, Jackson Hayes type of plays, but it's clear JJ does not want to play another center throughout the game. He wants to play small ball. I want to ask you a question, Anthony. Well, right before that, I was watching the football game, and I think my favorite part of the football game was there was like a little skirmish going on the field, and the commentators went, "Little skirmish going on. Get back to your huddle. Let's get back to the game." And I thought that was incredible. Like, there was just absolutely zero side. Let's zoom in on the huddle and see who's pushing who. Let's do a 40-minute replay. None of that. It was just right back to the game. And I thought, that was incredible. But my whole point this whole time when the DFS trade happened, and, I said this on LFR as well, is like, to me, this is a time where you assess what the team's needs are. Teams are doing, and no one wants to talk about D'Angelo Russell, because I understand, because he's super polarizing. All the Russells that come through here are. But what teams are doing now is when LeBron's on the floor without Austin Reaves, full aggressive ball pressure. Keldon Johnson did it tonight. You could tell it got LeBron annoyed. It was like kind of like a get off me type moves. And you see LeBron do this sometimes. The hard dribble, turn the ball over, don't get back. But in any case, like, there was just some turnovers there. I think we need one, like they're trying to fit Gabe into that role, Anthony, which I'm sure excites you. But I think we need another ball handler there that, doesn't have to be better than Austin, but at least has to be the level of Austin. I don't know. I just, when I'm watching this team, it's such a struggle. AD had it going from the post tonight, but teams aren't sending doubles on that. They're letting him play one-on-one. Like, it's not creating other offensive advantages.
Yeah.
And his jumper also was going down too. Do you see that as well? There's a need for another ball handler. That, at least that's what I've seen in the 5 games or 4, whatever the DFS has played. It's just our units without, and Austin, and JJ's trying to buy minutes where Austin and LeBron sit. And it's like Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, Dalton Connect. It's like, and the Spurs just punch you or knock you out in those units. This is without Wemby, by the way. This is with, what's the backup center's name? Messi. I forgot his last name. I think it was Messi. Bassey,
yeah,
Charles Bassey, excuse me.
I was gonna say,
yeah, even
Missy plays for New Orleans, I believe.
That's Eve Messi. But yeah, and then their bench came in and just killed that unit because there's no ball handling, and you're hoping Gabe is able to kind of fill in that role. I think there's another ball handler that's needed, and I don't know if you can get that through trade or whatever it is. But at least that's what I'm seeing with the offense. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted them to make an imbalanced trade or waive somebody to go out and get Markelle Fultz. Like, they need, they need somebody to defend at the point of attack better than anybody that they have currently. And they need somebody like even when they had D'Lo, they don't have anybody that like caves in. Well, they don't have anybody on their roster who can consistently get by anybody without the help of a screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else needs a screen, or like LeBron is the closest player to that, but he doesn't really go by people. He just kind of like bullies them and attacks a shoulder enough that he kind of knocks that shoulder out of line and gets into the paint that way. The Lakers don't have anybody who can just 1-2 dribble. I'm by my guy. Excuse me. And the defense has to react. It is 1:00 in the morning, my time. Like they don't have anybody. And is Fultz perfect? No, there's a reason he's not in the NBA right now. But he's a better athlete than the Lakers currently have at that position on the roster. Same can be said about Lonnie Walker. Same can be said about Dennis Smith Jr. Like there is still a ton of stuff that they need to do. And I like laughed at the fact that Rob was like having his picture taken at a USC game shortly after the Dorian Finney-Smith trade, and he's walking around there at practice with his chest out, after he makes the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. And I'm like, dude, you just traded for like a okay rotation player on a team that wasn't going to make the playoffs this year. Can we actually like move a first rounder and get an impact target back? Can we just do that? And then if you do that, then okay, you can do a press conference from Disneyland for all I care. But they still very, very clearly need more stuff. And it's like, I just don't know that I'm confident that they're going to do any of that stuff. I just don't know. I don't know how willing they are to invest first round draft capital into this team.
Sure. Yeah. And that's kind of, I think, and tonight didn't help, I'm sure, in that case. I think, again, this is just my own evaluation. I think the front office wants to see a team that's at least in the top 4 to 5, and then, push the button that pushes them past that. I'm not saying that's the correct way to view it. That's the way I think the front office views it. There was a few years ago where, Russell Westbrook was on the team, and I think the team was around the 7 or 8 spot, and they decided to not do anything. And I think that's their MO. It was interesting because watching Michael Cooper's speech, you see Kurt Rambis back there, and you're like, oh yeah, Kurt Rambis is part of those teams as well. And then you realize, oh wait, Kurt Rambis is like running things still. It's just so interesting, kind of all the variables at play. But no, I'm with you. I'm not sure what they do. I do think they will pull some trigger. I don't know what it is, whether that's the guy that's hooping in Chicago right now, or the disgruntled guy in New Orleans. But I think there will be some move. I do think they'll wait till February to do that. And Yeah, I don't know. Will it be too late by then? The Kings have won 7 in a row. I mean, the Warriors are fumbling kind of their spot in the West, but you look at the Western teams, and San Antonio looks like they might make the playoffs. But I don't think there's any urgency to do anything right now. Which Lakers fans are gonna have to watch this team for another month. Yes, because All-Star weekend is on the 14th, I believe. So trade deadline will be around that time. We got a lot more of this Lakers basketball to continue to watch.
Pete is blue skying. I don't know what we're calling those things, but he's saying that they screwed up Cooper's jersey retirement. And I'm wondering, like, if that has to do with the shirts that they were giving away for the first responder thing that they were doing. I'll look into it. I'll see what.
There wasn't enough shirts, right? Is that right, or something? Or...
Yeah, I don't know if it was like, I don't know if they forgot that they had Cooper jerseys that they were going to be handing out when they did like the first responder shirt giveaway that they were doing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's not a productive organization. Let's wrap this thing up. Let's get to the super comments here and call it a night, which means all right. Brandon Omeng writes, honestly starting to consider trading Dalton Connect in a BI trade. I don't know if AR can be a lead guard. It's very concerning to me. Get rid of Rui for JJ's sake. All right, so we'll go point by point there. They have considered Dalton borderline untouchable this year, and I don't get it. Like, I don't think he's good enough to consider him that way, and he's also not young. Like, it'd be one thing if you were super high on a draft prospect that was like still 20 years old. But Dalton has like run headlong into the rookie wall, and he's like 24, I believe. Like, he's not, I don't know how much you can expect him to really improve from now until, like, he's in his prime. So I don't think he should be considered untouchable. Like, am I just like throwing him into a trade? No, but am I hanging up the phone when teams are calling about him? Also very much no. The AR is a lead guard thing. I'm still convinced that he's fine as a lead guard with LeBron also on the team. The part that I am starting to get really nervous about is with him playing such an important role offensively, teams are going to do more to get him out of the game and out of rhythm. And I think that's where we're seeing them hunt him pretty relentlessly. I don't think that's going anywhere, and I don't think the Lakers are doing enough. I don't know how he's going to continue to handle that. And I don't know if the Lakers are doing enough, like you mentioned earlier, to make life easier there. And then get rid of Rui for JJ's sake. Which of those 3 points do you want to tackle here?
Just really quickly, I do the Dalton and speak on AR. Dalton, I don't like, just specifically BI trade. I don't think you would need to include Dalton in a BI trade. And again, I think the part that Dalton is so valuable is his contract, right? He's just drafted, and that's, to me, when teams are so over the money line, especially in this apron world, that's where you want to kind of keep players who are. It's not about Dalton's being young. To me, it's just about having a player on a rookie scale deal. AR as a lead guard, like, I think AR can be a lead guard. And to your point of him being attacked on the defensive end, a lot of teams have players that are attacked on the defensive end. The point is that you don't let them be like, defense is a reactionary position. And so, like, you can't tell the offense where the ball needs to go, but you can also kind of control where shots come from, to me. And I forgot to make this point earlier, but Anthony, there is no world in where Keldon Johnson gets 6 shots tonight. Like, he needs to prove to me he can hit a shot. Chris Paul had 6 shots tonight. He needs to prove to me that he can hit a shot. Julian Champagnie was 1 for 7. He needed to be 2 for 11 or something like that. Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell getting 18 shots each is just, to me, that's a defense that doesn't understand where they're supposed to be. And it just gives up exactly what the offense wanted. And again, I understand Austin's going to get the brunt of the kind of blame for this. It's just, your help has to be consistent, and you have to, all right, this is where we're helping from. Kelvin Johnson, show me you can hit 3 corner threes in a row. Harrison Barnes, show me that you can hit a jump shot. You know, like that's to me that was most upsetting. I think AR is fine, as in the position that he's in right now on the team.
Next one comes from Justin Tyndall. Unserious team, a bad loss every 2 weeks. It's pathetic. I guess LeBron didn't speak to the media tonight after the game. Which, if anybody understands, like, you know, how people are going to take that, it's going to be LeBron. So, yeah, I guess we'll keep an eye on that situation. But I do get the sense that he's getting pretty frustrated with, like, you know, I think he understands dating back to last year, this roster isn't good enough, and Dorian on his own was not enough to change that math very much. So we'll see what this team looks like. He had that quote, interesting quote too, where he was like, you know, saying how this isn't the team that we're going to be in February or March. Now that could be they are going to continue to improve and that improvement can take place internally, but it's also LeBron, and we know he has thoughts on personnel and stuff. So he could have been referring to that as well. So yeah, keep an eye on the LeBron thing. Brandon Omeng writes, bad day as well for me as a fellow Vikings and Lakers fan. Saw the Vikes loss coming. To be honest, Sam is not the guy. Hopefully we don't resign him. JJ is up next. Yeah, the one silver lining, for lack of a better term, is that, like, the Vikings aren't going to pay Sam Darnold $50 million a year. Like, you know, he is nowhere near good enough for that stuff. He was only good this year because he was making 10 mil on a team that could expend everything that they could elsewhere across the roster. And even that, like, he turned into a pumpkin in the games that really, really mattered. Yeah, it's a annoying night to be a fan of purple and gold teams. Rye Guy, the idea of this team succeeding is gone. Rui and AR plus picks net a difference maker. Fox, Butler, Levine, etc. Nuggets are willing to trade MPJ, but the Lakers are not with AR. MPJ is on a much worse contract, so, like, I think that's a bit of a factor there too. But yeah, like, if you know, if it's Rui and Gabe, that's a $20-something million a year player that you could go out and bring back. Let alone if it's Rui and Gabe and a pick or two. So I do think Lakers fans need to let go of the Walker Kessler dream, as I've explained here over the last couple of weeks or so. But I also think that the Lakers need to lower their bar for, like, who is deemed untouchable in a lot of these deals.
And I think they're also going to look at what Vando looks like, right? And you just mentioned the contracts, Rui, Gabe, and Vando, plus the picks gets you to another tier of player as well, which is why, again, I know it's frustrating and people are getting mad at me as well for saying it, but I want to see what this team is and then kind of fill the holes in from what that is in a month. And the Lakers aren't just the energy and effort is not going to be swayed by who comes in right now. So see what the team is, and then in a month you can kind of package those picks and those contracts for a player that, you know, will help you, whoever that is, whether that's Levine or BI or whoever's on the market at that time.
JJ had an interesting quote Rye Guy mentioned here. JJ just said, it feels like no one is in the paint for us. I don't know if he means that defensively or if he means that offensively, meaning, like, nobody is getting into the paint on their own, kind of a deal. And look, like, I saw, it was actually, I think some of this is a Wemby thing because he is so good defensively and he takes up so much room. But it really stood out to me, the game that I saw in person, how reluctant the Lakers were, you know, later in that game and as that game went on, to get into the paint. And now in that game, they knocked down open shots. In this one, the Lakers shot 31, just under 32% from three. And if you aren't succeeding in the interior and you also aren't knocking down shots, that's how you arrive at 13 points in the fourth quarter. The other version of this conversation though is as far as players defensively, nobody being in the paint. Like you said, Wemby pulled AD out of the paint and there was just zero presence on the interior for the Lakers.
Right. And I mean, in the first half, Anthony, Wemby was a -3. So the Lakers were actually winning the minutes that he was on the floor. The ball movement was good. The transition defense was, a little bit better than it was in the second half. It's just, again, San Antonio threw a punch. The Lakers also kind of grabbed their hand and put it on their face by turning the ball over. But, still a punch for San Antonio. And the Lakers laid down. They quit. They were not up for the fight that San Antonio was putting out. And so, yeah, all the analysis when you lose the fourth quarter 37-13, it's just that's not basketball anymore. There's a level that's a human thing that you chose to do. San Antonio was not 25 points better in the fourth quarter, talent wise or skill wise. They just punked them in the fourth, which is sad.
Last one here. Justin writes again, amateur hour under Genie in all facets. Yeah, I've talked about this a ton, especially lately. And, it's funny in doing this. So like the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl before and, are like known for epic collapses in the postseason or just soul crushing moments in the postseason. And, you look at them as an organization and they almost never go out and get the big free agent. They're like, they're always, they're always the kind of team that like says, oh, we're kind of stuck spending. If they do go out and get a free agent, it's like a mid-tier free agent that they kind of overpay for, the Kirk Cousins of the world and so on and so forth. And like, when you have an organization that has zero playoff success, you could just look at the ownership. You could just say like, yeah, Ziggy Wolf kind of sucks at this. And when you have an organization like the Lakers do, where it was incredibly well run, and then since Dr. Bus has passed away, it's been inconsistent at best, if not, sometimes just outright embarrassing. And again, like you can just kind of like look at ownership and you can just say like, all right, start your analysis there. And until Jeannie is willing to hold her friends accountable or stop hiring her friends in these important roles, you're gonna see a lot of that inconsistency. Doesn't mean that they will not succeed, right? They won a championship in 2019 and in 2020. But that was when LeBron kind of decided out of nowhere that he wanted to be a Laker and helped get Anthony Davis to the Lakers then. And both of those guys were playing at such a high level that they were able to kind of will the Lakers to a championship that year. But if you don't get those kinds of circumstances and those kinds of like otherworldly performances from those kinds of players, then you arrive where we're at now, where for the entirety of the time that LeBron and AD have been Lakers together, they've been a mediocre regular season team. Like the larger sample size would indicate that they have managed to be consistently mediocre despite having LeBron and AD in their primes, and you have LeBron extending his prime. So that's where I think, that like, amateur hour is kind of summarized.
Yeah, I think Jeannie, to her credit or to her detriment, has been very clear that she stays out of the basketball situations and conversations, which means, the GM and the president of basketball, or whatever the term of what his placeholder is where all the conversation and the blame and the decision making goes. And I think this is a year that's very telling. I think it will show kind of where the conversation needs to go after this season. But for now, I think the people running it will continue to do so unless, the team totally falls apart or, misses the playoffs or something like that. But yeah, it feels like the people pulling the strings will continue to pull the same strings.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in the way that you did. A quick reminder, please do had one more super chant in the beginning. Takes talent to be outscored by 34. Oh, wow. We do have a lot of. We have some that just weren't counted. Okay. All right. So first, Justin Tyndall wrote, takes talent to be outscored by 34 in the last 16 minutes. It takes a supreme amount of I know, Raj, you don't like using this word, but softness, like just mental and physical softness. We saw there. And then Brandon also wrote earlier, AR might not be the lead guard we need. Rui, Gabe, Hayes, Reddish need to go ASAP. Dorian Finney-Smith can barely get any run. Stop switching the bleeping defense. What kind of defense would you prefer the Lakers run?
I mean, so it's tough because I think, if you want them in a drop coverage, which I think most people, when you go away from a switching scheme, then what you say is, all right, well, we're going to give up this, right? Which is open jump shots, basically. If a guard can come off the screen, it's what Austin gets defended as, and it's what the Cavs do, right? And it's why Austin dropped 34 on the Cavs, because they back off. I don't mind, Anthony, a switching defense. It's just there's got to be some control on it, right? There's a difference to me between giving up the switch that the offense wants every single time and just allowing their guys to play one-on-one, to play Rucker Park basketball, to let Spencer Dinwiddie basically go back to his California high school roots and just say, oh, this is what I get to do. This is what I do. This is what I do well, actually. You're going to clear out the floor and let me cook? All right, fine. There's a difference between that and being able to switch and be aggressive, right? So when you switch, basically it means your team's faster. They have better instincts. They can kind of collapse. They can converge on a player. You can switch out in different ways. It's just, to me, it's a difference of, you watch OKC switch, watch Boston play switching defense. That's something you have to mentally prepare for as a team. It can't something you just throw out there because now you have the personnel for it, right? There's got to be some cohesion there. And so the interesting part to me is the DFS. Seems like JJ is very reluctant to play him over 30 minutes. Now, I'm not sure if that's because he's just on the team or if maybe he sees DFS as a 20-minute player, as a Vando type, which would be interesting. Obviously, he's had very positive kind of reviews on DFS. But DFS fits this perfect. He's one of our best switching players that we have. And if you're going to go fully switching, then yeah, he has to play more. I also think Rui at the power forward makes a lot more sense than Rui at the small forward, right? I think there's ways where you can play him, and he's playing Rui and DFS together, and those lineups are actually playing well. But yeah, I'm fine with the switching defense. That's what we've committed to. Jackson Hayes is even a switching defender that doesn't know when he's supposed to switch more than he's bad at defense. It's just, if you let the other team attack your worst defender, then yeah, there's no lineup that exists that you're going to be successful at all. So yeah, I don't know. It's just frustrating to watch it and watch us just give up easy points consistently. Cam Reddish trying to get a steal at half court, lets Chris Harrison Barnes go by him for a layup. Just, I don't know, stuff like that just is very annoying. But yes, switching is fine. It's just the way we're doing is terrible and it's incohesive.
I think that's the biggest thing there. They are, some guys are ready to switch, some guys are not. Some guys are some moments are switching and others, and
yeah,
they aren't. It's just kind of we'll see how it goes. And I don't think you can play defense that way. All right, that is now going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge. Thanks to everybody for the super comments and for tuning in the way that you did. I will be back at it tomorrow, to continue with the breakdown here. We'll see what the fallout of LeBron not speaking was. Also needs to be pointed out, LeBron's house has been kind of in the danger zone during the Palisades fires. So he might have just wanted to get back and make sure that that continues to be okay. It could be any number of things here that go into him not talking. So we'll keep an eye on what that is, and we'll continue to keep an eye on the Vando situation and the fallout from this game. I do think this is probably the last game of Rui starting, but like you said, Raj, he's been reluctant to play Dorian any more than 30 minutes, and it's kind of hard to start somebody and then also not want to play them 30 minutes or more. So we'll see. But until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chapalu. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and we will talk to you tomorrow.